Hello everyone, this is Boricua Binks and welcome back to Let's Play Seduce Me to the Demon War. In the last episode, we were watching as Diana was performing the Sending, which was a ritual to help give peace to some demons who were murdered by the Demon Lord. That was pretty interesting. Pretty cool that they did that. And while we were watching her dance, Sero came up and was talking to us, and that was the first moment that I was like, oh, maybe OT3 is possible. So we'll see, hopefully everything will be alright. So let's continue on. With a laugh to Diana, I led her back to my room, where she sat tiredly on the bed. The exhaustion in her face was clear, and her body quaked from overexerting itself. You dance so beautifully, Diana. With a smile, Diana looked up at me and blushed a bit. To see her face go a slight pink made her look so adorable.
You flatter me, dear.
I could only smile before she slowly stood back up and took my hand, surprising me. She kept her head down, however, which made me even more confused as to what she was doing. Oh, is this it? Is this it? Is she gonna confess her love? Diana?
Dear, I'm sorry.
Huh? For what? Diana grimaced a bit before looking up at me with serious eyes. They flicked back and forth between red and gold, but she stood her ground.
For the intolerance from my kind. Humans aren't exactly welcomed in this world.
It's not your fault. That's what this was about. I understood completely, but it seemed to hit Diana the hardest. After all, she was the one who brought me to this world. I cupped Diana's cheek and smiled at her, causing her expression to go from shame to surprise. Diana, it's all right. Ooh, I don't care about them. I think... Oh, I can't save. Darn it. I think I'm gonna say... I love you. It doesn't really matter, but I think either way would have been fine. Diana hitched her breath. It was true, though. I had grown to love her for everything she had done. She was brave, powerful, beautiful, everything I desired in a person. My heart beat wildly for her, and I could only pray that she understood my feelings. Diana looked to our hands, her eyes watering a bit. I instinctively wiped her eyes a bit with my fingers, now concerned. Diana?
I don't know what love is.
I stared, dumbfounded. She didn't know what love was. However, she surprised me by placing a gentle, shaking hand on my cheek, leaning in. Oh, they're so cute. You're very cute.
But I'm willing to learn, if it's with you.
Oh. I'm such a sucker. I'm a sucker for the cuteness. I gasped slightly, seeing the earnest and care in her eyes before she closed them and gently planted a kiss on my cheek. A soft shudder ran down my spine as I felt her soft lips press against my skin. Oh, give her a beso. I couldn't take it anymore. I needed to kiss her. I pulled Diana close. Oh, I see where we're going. Oh. And wrapped my arms around her neck, capturing her lips with my own. She gasped, surprised at my sudden eagerness, but slowly began to melt into the kiss between us. Her lips were as heavenly as the night I first tasted them. Her arms gently wrapped themselves around my waist, pulling me close to her body. The jangle of her brute dancer garb echoed in the room, making me smile slightly at the surprised noise. I had nearly forgotten that she was still in her dancer outfit. On their own, my fingers slowly danced down Diana's shoulders and traced over the seams of her outfit, making her body shudder ever so slightly. Was she enjoying a mere touch that much? Or was she hungry for energy? I pulled away slightly, seeing her eyes dance between red and gold, some control trying to be maintained within her gaze on me. She was out of energy, and she needed more than just a kiss. Well, if it's just to give her energy. For now, I would take it slow. I leaned back in and kissed her again, this time biting her lower lip and enticing her to let go of the control she had. I wanted her to relax, and for me to be the one to comfort her and hold her against me. Maybe it was because of the call her succubus body had on me, or maybe it was because my heart desired to be with her that much. I didn't care, but I obeyed the command of my heart to drive her to the pleasure we both craved. The night would be for us, and the warmth of the afterglow would be exquisite. Diana released an almost carnal moan against my lips and tightened her grip on my waist, almost slamming my body against hers. My plan was working, and she was falling for my temptations. I couldn't help the smirk that painted itself across my face at the gesture. In return, I quickly rushed my hands up her body and combed my fingers into her hair before gripping her horns. Oh dear. Sorry. To my surprise, Diana released a moan against my lips, causing me to pull away and stare into Diana's surprised eyes. A blush ran across her cheeks, but her gaze melted into one of lust and desire as I held her horns in my grasp. Were her horns her weak spot? We did figure that one out during James's route. Awkward. I gripped them harder. I was right. I pulled Diana closer to me with her horns and almost slammed my lips into hers, wanting to devour the moan she was releasing. I felt myself become more passionate in the kiss between us, needing to feel more of her. Okay. Well, I think I will be skipping this whole section for you guys. My bad. Oh boy.
You're not playing fair.
Oh dear. Yep, definitely skipping.
My sweet love, I will hold you close for as long as I can.
Aw, that's so cute. And we're back. I think we're at the end of this, so I should be safe now. And I will be with you forever. My heart fluttered at the feelings ebbing within my chest. I was happy, and I would keep this happiness close to me for as long as I lived. I awoke after a peaceful sleep, staring up at Diana as she leaned back against the bedpost, reading a book I didn't recognize. As I started to shift, Diana looked down at me and grew a loving smile.
Good morning, dear. Ready for today?
I think we are more than ready. Despite feeling the tired effects of the morning, I nodded with a smile of my own. I could tell that today was going to be a good day. Diana closed her book and placed it on the table beside the bed before standing, stretching her body. However, mid-stretch, Diana froze. In fact, the entire room became frozen, as if time itself had stopped. Uh-oh. Huh? Diana? I felt myself move freely, despite the air around me being still. I stood from the bed and walked around to Diana, seeing her frozen like a statue. What was going on?
Human.
Oh, Zero. Interrupting our moments together. How dare you? My heart froze as I looked to see Zero by the corner of the room, arms crossed and stare cold as ice. What was he doing? Seto, what are you?
Come with me.
Hmm? Without another word, Seto left the room into the hall. I was massively confused, but followed, now worried what would happen if I didn't. As we walked down the hall, I was stunned to see every person in the castle frozen in time. Okay, I'm gonna save. I don't know what's going on here. How is this possible? How was Seto doing this? Seto was silent the entire walk. Eventually, we walked to the gold set of doors which led into the chamber her family was killed. I hesitated, staring warily at Seto before seeing him open the chamber. To my surprise, the room changed from a nursery room full of blood to a view of an outdoor space. As far as I could see were trees and plant life, bustling and full of life. What the hell? Seto stepped in and waited at the door, ushering me inside. I followed, despite every nerve in my body yelling at me to just run back. I had to see this through, whatever this was. Seto led me into the forest of trees, making sure I was able to see him the entire time, until we reached a patch of land with a singular large tree, covered in pink and purple petals. Whoa, looks very pretty. I found myself become entranced at the sight. What was this place? Why was it here? As I examined the tree, I noted the major abundance of fruits in the branches. I smiled, knowing exactly what they were. Sweet flowers.
You know of them?
I nodded. Diana gave me a slice of one in the human world. They're the best thing I've ever tasted. Oh yeah, I remember now. I could faintly remember the taste of it. It was perfectly sweet and moist. I was so full of energy after that day, I was hardly able to keep it all in. Seto let out a small chuckle, drawing my attention.
I was barely walking when I had my first taste. My lady climbed the tree and picked it herself before splitting it open down the middle and giving me one of the halves.
I slightly smiled, imagining a young Diana and Seto doing such a thing. As my gaze wandered to the tree, I spotted the crowns of Diana's parents and sister at the base, making me frown a bit. At the sight, Seto let out a small sigh.
Tell me honestly, do you truly believe you can make her happy?
I looked up at Seto, surprised at the question. His face was stern and serious as he gripped to his spear in a white-knuckle grip. Why was he asking such a question? Oh, is he going to give me his blessing? That's sweet. With a nod, I took in a breath and stood up straight. I do. Oh! Ooh! Ooh! Is this what I think it is? Let me see. And I know you love her too. I mean, I'm already kind of playing it so that me and him become friends at least. If I say I want to be the one to make her happy, that might hurt his feelings more. Okay, so I'm going to say the top one. I didn't want us to fight over this like children. Yes, I loved her, but so did he. Who was I to push him away? After all, he had served her his entire life. Oh my god, please, please, OT3, please. For once, I just want a happy OT3 ending. That's all I want. Seto stared hard at me, taking in what I was saying before raising his spear, pointing it at me. Oh no!
You truly love her?
Yes, please don't kill me. I do. I'm sorry if that upsets you. A moment passed. What would Seto do? I prayed that he wouldn't strike me down. I hoped that he was willing to listen and compromise. A small chuckle escaped Seto's lips, causing me to look at him in confusion. His face painted his concern and his strange thoughts on this almost humorous situation. As he lowered his spear, he shook his head. Okay, so if I had pissed him off, he totally would have killed me right here and then. Oh dear.
It doesn't upset me. I just want Azair to be happy.
So do I. Yep, as do I. Seto locked eyes with me, gazing into my soul to judge my words for their truth. I was being honest, and truly, to know that both of us cared about and loved Diana was amazing to fathom. Eventually, Seto smiled slightly.
Then, maybe it's best that we both try to make her happy.
Oh my god, yes! Yes! Finally! Thank you, Michaela Laws. Thank you, creator of these games. Thank you, Michaela. I love you. OT3. So happy. I'm legit so happy. I'm so glad I'm playing this route. I'm so glad I was smart enough to be on Seto's side the whole time. Yes! Yes, 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 yes! OT3. I smiled and nodded, happy to know that he understood. This wasn't a contest, nor was this something to fight about. If we both loved her, then the best thing to do was to both shower her in the love we felt she deserved.
What is going on?
Oh. Nothing bad, I promise. It's all good. Seto and I suddenly looked to the direction of Diana's voice, seeing her completely red in the face in anger. As she walked forward, Seto bowed his head in submission.
My lady, I
asked Seto if we could talk in private. Diana stopped walking and stared at me with the most confused look I had ever seen. I giggled a bit before stepping to her and taking her hand. We needed to chat about a little something something. About you, of course.
About me?
I nodded with a grin before walking over to Seto and placing a hand on his shoulder, making him look up at me. I lowered my hand and offered it to him, helping him stand up before continuing. We both are in love with you, Diana. The look on Diana's face was both hilarious and adorable. Her face turned completely red as she darted her eyes back and forth between the both of us.
I
Azair.
Seto took a step forward and took one of Diana's hands as I did the same with her free hand. Diana looked back and forth between us, now completely in shock and uncertainty. Seto and I couldn't stop the smiles on our faces at the sight. Oh, this is so cute. Oh, G3, yes. Yes, I'm so happy. Yes. This is how most of my love triangles should end. Yes. And on this day, Binks reached Nirvana. Ah, it's adorable.
We love you and want you to be happy.
If it takes both of us to do it, then we will happily do everything we can to ensure that happiness. My heart felt like I had made the right choice. Seto loved her, and so did I. There was no need to lay claim to her when she was deserving of ultimate love. If it was something we could both provide, then it was well worth sharing. Diana's eyes began to water as she looked down and tried to catch her breath. Before Seto and I could worry, however, she softly chuckled.
You both are such fools.
Aw, she must be so relieved. I'm sure, if we wanted to, I think we could have had an ending where we had her to ourselves. But would she have been truly happy? And then poor Seto would have been so sad in the background. Oh man, such a cinnamon roll. Everybody. For a moment, Seto and I became the ones confused. But as Diana looked back up at us with a happy smile and soft tears running down her cheeks.
I don't deserve either of you, let alone both of you.
That's where you're wrong, Azair. Oh, first time we said her real name instead of Diana. I stepped forward and softly kissed Diana on the lips, making her gasp and stare at me wide-eyed. As I pulled away, I grinned. You deserve all the happiness in the world. Zero stepped forward and placed a kiss of his own on Diana's lips, causing another gasp to erupt from her and make the blush on her face deepen.
And we would be honored to grant you that happiness.
Diana couldn't help sobbing and covering her face with her hands. Zero and I quickly rushed to her sides, embracing her and sandwiching her between our bodies. We didn't want to upset her. Her body shuddered between ours before she took in a couple of deep breaths, trying to calm down. Zero and I, however, began to pepper kisses along her hands and cheeks, wanting to comfort her. It was hard to believe that we agreed on something, but Zero and I both wanted the best for Diana, and both of our hearts wanted to be with her. As long as we were open about it, we would be okay. We were completely happy. The energy that sparked within Diana completely filled her with power, giving her the strength to completely annihilate the Demon Lord's army almost single-handedly. Ooh, nice. Huh, that's interesting. So, this takes place earlier than James's route, and it looks like in that timeline, because we weren't with Diana, she didn't have this extra happiness and strength, so she couldn't defeat him until we came with James, you know? That's really interesting. What many expected to take years to accomplish, Diana took days. Every attack the Demon Lord threw at us ended with him becoming utterly defenseless, soldierless, and powerless. Despite him managing to escape each time, we dwindled his troops to a mere handful of imp demons. Soon we had cornered him against a stretch of water called the Decaying Sea in his castle. Zero, Diana, and I stood upon a cliff top, staring down at the legions that had gathered below us as we mentally prepared ourselves for what would be the final battle.
To think this will finally be over.
Once it is, you will become the new queen of this world.
I looked over to Diana, seeing a soft glimmer of fear on her face. Was she not prepared for that responsibility? I took her hand, causing her to look over at me in surprise. As I nodded, I let a grin paint over my face. You'll be an amazing queen. Zero smiled as well, taking her other hand and making her look over to him.
That you will, and we will support you until the very end.
Diana's face completely turned beet red as Zero and I smirked at each other. We quickly leaned in and kissed both of Diana's cheeks simultaneously, causing her to gasp and straighten up like an arrow. During the time before the siege, Zero and I managed to work out our differences and found ways to double team against Diana whenever she was feisty, stressed, or needed care. I had to admit, we were the perfect duo. Cute. Diana shook her head violently and glared at both of us before pressing a kiss to each of our lips, causing us to shut up the laughter we had released upon seeing her blush. Diana looked to the crowd and stepped forward, slightly arching her back towards the legions below. She was no longer just Diana, but she had become the mighty queen of the rebellion, one that I loved with all of my heart.
Milites! Et hug liberati sturei tramcun tuis omnibus conversiris. Sto vobiscum reducitic vos ad spem. Nocte, lavabir mur, arcem, hostium sanguine.
Should be the same thing she said before.
Ele Dio dominati sun nostri. Noste struet, ium mitere, profundissimum, inferni detractos.
Diana summoned her saber, letting it shine brilliantly as the purple taint over her skin began to twist and turn. Before my eyes, the taint on her back took shape, lifting off of Diana's skin and morphed her into her beautiful demonic wings. I watched with pride as Diana's body lifted off of the ground and began to fly over the legions, slowly gliding towards the castle.
To war! To battle!
And that cry marked the dawn of change. The demon world would end the age of the Demon Lord's tyranny and begin the age of united peace and prosperity. With Diana soaring through the air bowed to her and proved her worthy of such power. As I stared, time around me slowed as I took in everything that had happened. We were at the end of this war. Where would we truly go from there? Who knew? But I knew that I would be at Diana's side forevermore. I managed to seduce her into bringing me to a new world and experience everything. We were in love, and I was certain that she would become the beacon of life not only for me, but for every demon in this world. After all, she managed to seduce me too. Nice. The demon war was only the beginning of our lives together.
Well, you did it! Congratulations! You've made it to the end of your story. I have to say, I am very surprised at how it turned out.
Oh man, but we can already imagine that she defeated the demon lord on her own. She don't need James. She's strong enough.
Nevertheless, I'm glad things worked out in the end, whether it was for the better or otherwise. I mean, come on. You got to be with a succubus and help her fight in a war. How crazy is that?
Pretty crazy, and I wonder why I never see you except for these parts, Kay.
You even got her to admit that she is in love with you. Go you! Demons are very hard to convince that you love them. Tell me about it, I know. Anyways, you've been through a lot, so why don't we skip to... Huh? You want to know what happened after the war? Well, I mean, I guess I could tell you.
Yes.
After the war was finished, the entire rebellion celebrated. Word spread far and wide about the rebellion's success, and soon every kingdom in the abyssal plains had become united with the new authority. You would think demons would be more hostile towards each other, being demons and all, but the threat of the demon lord was what brought the entire world together. The final battle between Diana and the demon lord became quickly one-sided, as he was no match for the power she had gathered from your love.
Yes.
Guess the power of love really does conquer all.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, when the war ended, the entire rebellion celebrated as Diana presented his head to the masses like a trophy before burning it and letting the ashes sink into the ground.
Nice.
The day after, she became queen of the demon world. It definitely shocked her, and it took her a while to get used to being called Your Highness by the other demons, but you helped her through it. Well, you and Sarah, anyway. Both of you pretty much became her anchors and support the entire time through her coronation and beginning to rule the world.
Yes, OT3.
Sarah, being told of the deal she made with you, convinced you to stay in the demon world with them, so that you'd be with her for the rest of your life. Though, I didn't think it was hard to convince you, was it?
I guess not. I mean, other than her friends and parents who really aren't involved in her life, she didn't have any reason to go back.
You love the dickens out of her, come on! Still, from what I hear at least, the three of you live happily ever after.
Maybe had some cute little babies. Have demon babies.
Huh? You don't believe me? Alright, check it out for yourself.
More? More? The demon world finally knew peace. It was a grand moment, the sounds of a million cheers echoing and burning themselves in my memory in celebration for the end of the war. Diana had finally destroyed the demon lord, and soon enough we would watch her become the matriarch of the abyssal plains, uniting the entire world under her rule. It was almost too unreal to experience and see as a human. However, I was happy for Diana, and I was proud to stand beside her and support her through it all. The war was an experience and a half, and I would never forget it for as long as I lived. As for me, I found myself drawn to Diana, hoping to spend every night with her in my arms. The human world became a faintly drifting memory as my life embedded itself into the demon world. Many demons questioned me, but Seto and Diana defended me with every conflict that came. However, there was never a day that went by that I didn't wonder, Did I make the right choice? It was a heavy chapter of my life, one that tested the love between me and Diana. My heart seemed to remind me that I had come to the demon world to help Diana, and now it was time for her to honor her end of the deal. She had to teach me everything about the 5 worlds and about magic. As a queen, that wasn't possible now. To my surprise, I didn't seem to mind. I had been given the experience of a lifetime, and I easily accepted it as a promise fulfilled. The faint memory of my own power slightly tingled through me every time I grew confident, eagerly reminding me that I had strength of my own. I would never let anyone come between me and Diana ever again. Yes, let her learn how to use her powers. The thoughts of it all echoed in my mind as I laid in bed, looking up at the ceiling with a wide smile on my face. Despite the dangers being real, the war was an adventure fun to look back upon in my memories. I took in a breath and let out a sigh, leaning back against the arm beneath my head and closing my eyes. I was at peace, and everything was all right.
Are you okay, dear?
Ah, we get to actually see all 3 of them. Ooh! And we get to see our character, which I hadn't seen at all until now. Cute. Very cute. And they both have black hair, so that's interesting. I opened my eyes at the sound of my pet name, looking up to see Diana smiling down at me. I could only giggle and cuddle into her embrace. I was just thinking about her, or about us.
Were you now? What about us?
With a smile, I nuzzled Diana's chest softly and closed my eyes, listening to her steady and loving heartbeat. How thankful I am to be here with you. Diana stared down at me, gently hugging me to her. I could feel her own joy at the situation resonate from her embrace and her kiss over my head. Seto only chuckled as he laid on her other side, listening to us speak to each other. Seto and I had gotten over our differences, and I was positive that we would be perfect together taking care of our demon queen. We both adored Diana and found each other both equally held close to each side of her body every morning.
I am thankful that you're here too. Both of you. You have done so much for me, and I will cherish you forevermore.
I believed every word. I let her words embed themselves into my heart, and I would remember them forever. As Diana hugged Seto and I to her, the 3 of us let out a simultaneous sigh of contentment. I would love her and continue to hold her close for the rest of my life. Nothing would be able to tear me away from her any longer. And that was my perfect happily ever after. And I am thankful for you and you. Yes! Yes! OT3! OT3! That's great. Yes! Alright, well that will be it for this LP, guys, and this episode. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this. I, of course, will be playing the rest of this game in my own free time, just to see if there's any differences with the other routes or whatever. But I really enjoyed this game. I really, 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 really liked it. Like the characters, like the action. It's not all about the romance like it was before. I mean, it still has some, of course. But it definitely felt more like the action-adventure type of thing. Stay tuned for the next LP. Thank you. Have a nice day.